Around the world, women are facing a rising tide of threats. 1 in 3 women face physical or sexual violence at least once in their lifetime. Every hour, more than 5 women are killed by a family member. New forms of violence facilitated by technology are surging, and conflicts are intensifying violence against women and girls globally. Growing pushback against women's rights threatens to reverse hard-won progress, making the world even more dangerous for women. But there is hope. There is more evidence than ever before that violence against women is preventable. Women's organizations are at the forefront of progress, providing life-saving services to survivors, leading movements advocating for women's rights, and driving policy change. ACT is a new game-changing program funded by the European Union. By directly investing in feminist movements, strengthening intersectional alliances that unite women's rights activists across the world, coordinating a shared advocacy agenda to push forward against the backlash. ACT will amplify women's rights movements in their call for justice. It's time to act to end violence against women.
This is one program that was able to make us reach the farthest to reach women rights organizations and women-led coalitions. So we were able to mobilize women who we would miss them in rooms.
Working together is not only about giving a grant. It's not that. It's about advocacy. It's about joint advocacy. I saw that we were talking about the Gambia and the law.
I think everyone have heard about the repealing of the FGM law in the Gambia, and we're working on it.
Women and girls with disabilities are at the periphery of the women's and feminist movement. So it seeks to bring women with disabilities at the center of the feminist movement. Currently, the project under which ACT supports us, it has provided an opportunity for us to increase the participation of women with disabilities in ending violence against women movements, because we realized there was a critical gap. Women with disabilities, from research and our experience as practitioners, we saw the gap in their participation. They are not common in feminist spaces, so we are trying to bring them into the feminist spaces. And I think that is something that is very important, because they're looking at ending violence against women and girls at the intersection of gender and disability.
We were able to strengthen the capacity of our community to speak for themselves. So before the ACT, many women and girls, especially young women, they felt excluded from decision-making spaces. So through the ACT, they were able to have training, mentorship, and funding support to be able to take part and establish youth-led advocacy structures that now meaningfully contribute to local and national dialogues. We have received support from the ACT program, and we were able to train traditional leaders, religious leaders. So because FGM in the Gambia have to do with the cultural norms and values, so it was really important to get the traditional leaders, the religious leaders on board, but again, most importantly, the grassroots people. So it was really important to get the grassroots, and ACT was able to support us to get all these people together. The most interesting part was getting the civil society organizations to come together and be able to do or craft their own messages so that we will all be on the same voice.
The project goal is really to foster the solidarity, spirited collective activism, shared analysis, and collective care among the DBV Prevention Network members in the region, the whole East and Southern Africa. So we have a network of over 5,000 members.
The ACT program has been very beneficial. We really appreciate the benefits that we have got from it. For example, we were able to reach out to more organizations with the Rethink and Re-Energize sessions, which have revolutionized the way we used to think of prevention work. By getting into deeper analysis of the feminist analysis, we are able to appreciate that feminism is not just for a certain group of people. It is something we need all to embrace. So those recent and re-energization have enabled the network members to deeply understand what feminism is. Secondly, it has enhanced the solidarity among the members. We are more connected now.
We have, as a coalition, and in the 3 countries, we have enhanced the leadership and advocacy skills.
Since we are now a formidable force beyond borders, we believe this is the way to go. So I think it's one of those transformational, incremental differences that we are causing in the community, but also in the institutions. That now, through ACT, I think our capacities have been built to see things differently from where we've been.
At the beginning of the year in Kenya, we had a really tough engagement where digital violence was really at the peak. So FITA Kenya was quite engaged in terms of just sharing opinions, in terms of what the law is saying and what is missing in the law, and what are some of the things that the government can do to ensure that we are reactive in terms of protecting women and girls in digital spaces.
The knowledge awareness that we have made in terms of digital violence, the scope it has, and what are some of the existing gaps that are there, that as a movement that you really need to come out strongly to advocate for. Because one of the things that I can even mention while we're implementing the project is what came to mind is that there was a policy that currently is being developed at national level, and some of the participants showed interest to, of course, contribute some of the engagement that we have had to ensure that the policy comes to be inclusive of all the issues that we have been discussing for the past 6 months. And for me, I think also the strong networks that you have built is also a success that I can really share as part of implementing this project, because even beyond the project, we are still getting media advocacy that are calling us to continue sharing the knowledge, creating awareness about digital violence. And right now we are heading towards elections. So it's something that we have really set the foundation to continue the work to just explore what digital violence is all about and how it can impact women to take part in politics as we are heading it towards next year. So for me, I can say it has really created an opportunity for conversations to continue even beyond the project.
By and large, the ACT project has laid the foundation for a stronger, connected and future-ready feminist movement that is capable of confronting violence against women and girls in both physical and digital spaces. Both in Nigeria and Kenya, at least we've been able to, either directly and both indirectly, we've been able to reach many women and girls. For the first quarter, we're able to reach about 5,000 directly and indirectly. And then the second quarter, I think we had about 20. And then the training manual has been very instrumental in training our members in Nigeria, Kenya. We've had alliances in Ghana, South Africa, and I think Uganda. And then the research report itself, the digital harm effect, is being used across so many networks and coalitions. And then we also had a policy brief with which we have been able to make representation of some of our legislators, policymakers. So it is also helping in the review of some of our legislations.
We've had membership expansion across the West and Central Africa, and then our research to practice too, that has translated real-world knowledge production to practice through this pilot initiative. Now, when we pilot this, of course, we know that pilot means the capacity to snowball and cascade, and that's free and available to every network and coalition to use.
We had a research. We needed to know the impact of not having women in government and how it affects, the development. Initially people don't just understand it when we talk about, not having women in governance. So they just see it as if we only want to be present, but it has a lot of impact, negative impact on development. So we conducted that research, and it was a huge research because it was across West and Central Africa.
That our coalition network members are able to recognize this able to collect that information, able to utilize it for advocacy that is impactful and meaningful. So for us, that's a huge success.
We operate in Sudan, South Sudan, Somaliland, Somalia, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Djibouti. And you'd see that all those countries I mentioned are either conflict or post-conflict context.
Through projects like ACT, SIHA is able to bring different women organizations together to come and share opportunities of learning, like the trainings on issues around leadership for women, issues about feminism, to understand the principles and also how to go about, and issues around maybe how to manage the shrinking civic space when it comes to how do we go about social media kind of abuses, how do we manage in terms of thinking about the grassroots, the most affected as women-led organization. So it has helped us to come together.
Within that program, we established three areas of Somalia women coalitionists, and the coalitionists that we are established on that program now, successfully, some of the women who are the part of the coalition, they become women in parliamentarian and women in local council, ministers. So it is the best achievement that we can see the areas of advocacy, and we thank the SIHA and also their supporters, UN Women, UN Trust Fund, who are supporting on the programs that we are collaborating with.
The work we are doing with SIHA at the moment focuses on resilient leadership, and we focus on tackling GBV for women in leadership, those who are in leadership and for those who are aspiring to join or to become on board for leadership positions. So this is the central area that we are working with SIHA.
We set out to map the commitment makers and assess the progress with their commitments. And two, we set out to facilitate dialogues and webinars with GBV AC stakeholders. And lastly, our focus was on engaging at regional, national, and global advocacy roundtable spaces and platforms.
Under ACT, and with the critical role that Akili Dada is playing by bringing together partners from the East and Southern Africa region, we hope that we're able to build a strong evidence base, and not just that evidence base being there, but also being able to influence regional and continental practices and pathways for accountability when it comes to the policies that are in place on ending violence against women and girls. So that is a critical factor for us, and we believe that when we engage with the movements that are there and the organizations that are part of the coalition, build their capacity to engage in policy spaces, they will be better placed to influence policy and to also drive the work that is geared towards ending violence against women and girls.
Également, les partenaires de ACT ont joué un rôle central dans un processus collectif de création et de validation d'une stratégie, comme je l'ai dit tantôt, mais plutôt ces stratégies également, elles visent à répondre de manière structurelle et féministe aux réactions hostiles contre les droits des femmes et surtout pour les organisations féministes.
Et après plusieurs captations, discussions, cette fédération a réussi à mobiliser $1 350 qui va directement à leur communauté pour vraiment soutenir l'autonomisation économique des femmes. Là. Donc on voit déjà les premiers signes d'une autonomie de plaidoyer.
Donc à travers ACT, nous avons soutenu la structuration de 8 réseaux majoritairement dirigés par des femmes et qui comptent aujourd'hui plus de 150 membres. Donc nous avons aussi créé des liens entre ces réseaux-là et d'autres acteurs nationaux mais aussi sous-régionaux qui font partie des organisations de la société civile. Donc nous sommes vraiment fiers, c'est l'un des résultats pour lesquels nous sommes fiers. Et
Le deuxième résultat sur lequel j'aimerais mettre l'attention, c'est les premiers signes d'autonomie et aussi de renforcement de capacité d'agir que l'on voit déjà avec ces organisations-là. Après le renforcement de capacité qu'elles ont eu en mobilisation sociale, en plaidoyer et aussi en mobilisation de ressources. Donc nous avons une communauté partenaire, un réseau de communautés dans ce programme dont nous sommes aussi particulièrement fiers en Gambie, qui, après avoir suivi le programme et en faisant partie du programme ACT, a pu mobiliser auprès de son conseil régional $1 350 qui ira à soutenir les activités qui renforcent l'autonomisation économique des femmes dans leur communauté. Donc pour nous, ça c'est vraiment un signe d'un succès franc qui montre que c'est vraiment important d'investir dans le renforcement de capacités et de soutenir vraiment l'autonomie de ces réseaux communautaires.
Nous avons réussi à développer la thématique sur les violences numériques contre les femmes, surtout chez nous en RDC, où on vient de mettre en place, d'élaborer un code sur les numériques. Et tout cela, nous les produisons à travers le bulletin d'information pour informer les autres organisations de nos réalisations, mais aussi de résultats et de compétences issues des expériences de chaque organisation sur terrain. Et le programme ACT nous a permis de mettre en place une coalition qu'on appelle Mouvement pour la défense des droits des femmes, Mouvement d'élimination des violences faites aux femmes et aux filles. Et avec le programme ACT, il est venu avec un intérêt très particulier parce qu'il nous a favorisé à mettre un mouvement transrégional situé en RDC et en Colombie, dans le but de défendre les droits des femmes et surtout défendre l'élimination des violences faites aux femmes et aux filles.
The key recommendation is if the support that you've been getting from ACT to continue post the project, and of course sharing learnings from the organization that has been supporting us to continue the work even beyond the project.
Some of the challenges we face is backlashes. We receive a lot of backlashes from the community, especially people taking the FGM as a religious perspective. And in the Gambia, we have about 90% of Gambians being Muslim. So the Muslim community, we are taking the FGM so personal. So we have received a lot of backlashes when it comes to implementing the program.
Specifically, we've had a challenge when it comes to the accessibility of some of these spaces, in that some would be restricted in terms of travel, some would also be restricted in terms of the kind of input and requirements that are there for grassroots organizations especially to be able to produce information and evidence that would support policy reform. So the accessibility of spaces that are supporting women's rights and that are discussing women's rights is very important.
Some of the challenges are limited of resources like funding, and some of the challenges it is the understanding of the people that we serve, and also understanding of the and lack of the policies. Because of the willingness of the government, it's not still there, while we are lacking a FGM policy and SOB policy. So, but still, on that challenge, we are just challenging ourselves and also advocating as women how we can get the legislation who support women across the country.
Probably, if UN Women and even the partners that we are working with will think through having more aligned sessions that could help them with sustaining this kind of work. This will be on alternative resource mobilizations. How can they resource mobilize by themselves? How can the capacity be built in a way that they can check what is already around them? How can they galvanize the skills and the resources they already have as coalitions to help them push this work together? So I think that's a priority, and it should feature in most of the conversations that we are likely to have moving forward.
We are recommending that maybe there should be other phases or a second phase of future phases to the project to really capitalize on the results that have been achieved so far, and then to also situate this within the peculiar context in our different countries.
My recommendation will be to continue, if possible, to extend the program and be able to support more coalitions, build more coalitions and movements.
Calling upon UN Women and the EU to use their political influence to encourage governments to ratify the Maputo Protocol, but also to domesticate it and implement it.
Advocacy has to continue at all levels. We have to continue having, for example, intergenerational conversations.
This program, the art program, is a well thought out program. I'll be sad, to say that art will end soon. I do not want art to end because within this short period we have been able to do so much. You can imagine if art is extended, if we have, more resources put into the feminist work, so much more would have been achieved. So my request is have a rethink, see what can be done. Let's have art going, forward. We need art for a longer time, to perfect what we have all started.
This is between UN Women, the European Commission, and the UN Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women and Girls. But most importantly, I want to recognize the leadership, courage, persistence of each and every one of you in this room. As feminist advocates, women's rights organizations, and coalitions, you are really the engine behind the advocacy for ending violence against women and girls across Africa.